evolving the CosmWasm developer experience. Brief introduction. We are building Celatone, the logic, which we'll be talking about a bit more later. But before that, let's laugh. In the 4 years since its inception back in 2019, I think as many of you guys know, it has become pretty much the de facto smart contract framework for Cosmos chains, used by many of the current major chains and networks like Tron, like Osmosis, Stargaze, or Juno, as well as one that are launching soon like Faye or Duality. It's also what powers and made many of the major and well-known protocols currently in the ecosystem possible, like Etherport, like and others. Um, oh, I think there's like an issue or something. Oh, yeah, there we go. Um, with this, or more generally, room for improvement in the Cosmos developer experience. One specifically that I want to talk through and want to focus on today is on the onboarding of developers and more generally the developer experience and the tooling landscape that exists currently. The tools that, for me, the tools that exist are currently either only available, built for and compatible with certain chains, or unavailable on specific networks such as, let's say, testnets or local mainnet, or ones that for new developers, a lot of the tools that we are using, like is that are generally available, are either hard to use or just really unintuitive to for new beginners trying to get into the ecosystem in general. And there has been a lot of effort, a lot of team focusing on how to improve this experience and how to make the onboarding just the overall dev experience smoother, developer in general. And our attempt with this is what we call Celatone. Our pitch for Celatone is for it to become the unified interface for all on-chain interactions and to help users and developers to be able to do their common on-chain tasks in a faster, simpler, and more efficient manner. Um, well, at its core, Celatone is a block explorer first and foremost. How we differentiate from other explorers is in three main ways. The first is we provide one of the most comprehensive overview of data and data points when it comes to quantum codes and smart contract data on chain. It includes the typical things like the transaction history, the assets that the contract hold, the deployment and contract info, but also more specific things like the contract migration history, as well as all the queries and messages that the contract exposes by itself. The second is the information that we actually show for each of the contract differs, depending on the context that the contract is created or what the contract is about, right? For example, on the left side of all the contract with the we have the information on the contract instantiation data. These show things like the instantiated block height, the instantiator address, and the transaction, message. The contract is not instantiated through, let's say, a general on-chain message, but instead, the last field is replaced by the proposal ID instead. And we believe that this provides user with a more useful and more importantly, more relevant information to be able to, find the things that the task that they want to do. And going all of that, Celatone also provides information and relations not found in other explorers. Let's say when we're viewing As you can see, it's things like the code that they have uploaded, the contract that they have instantiated, or the admin soft, as well as proposal that they have created. Our contract will then also show things like the migration history for a certain contract, as well as any on-chain proposal related to it. But in addition to the core Explorer experience, we have also built certain other functionalities, or what we call modules, around the core Explorer to further enhance and extend what people can do with Celatone. And one of that is probably the most relevant to this event is the CosmWasm module. With it, users can do things like upload sheets and contracts, update admin, and perform migrations right from the UI directly with their, let's say, their Tether wallet, without having to use the CLI or implement or write their own custom scripts in, TypeScript or other programming languages. For all the contracts that we index on chain, we also provide an interface to query and send transaction to contract, along with the list of the full list of queries and execute messages that the contract exposes. For these interactions, we also provide auto-generated code snippets in the number of languages and framework, including the command line, Python, Axios, and as well as CosmJS. And finally, for permission CosmWasm networks, like let's say Osmosis, we also recently added a flow for users to directly create on-chain components, also to either store the code on-chain or to whitelist their addresses for permissionless requirement, again, without having to go through the DLL. Along with all the associated codes, contracts, addresses, and across all this, we believe that this is not just publicly available label data set in the tertiary ecosystem. And aside from the public data set, we want users to create their own locally running on-chain code and contracts, both the ones that they deploy themselves, as well as anyone that others might have deployed. Finally, we also have an interface through using our search show all the codes and contracts that the users have uploaded with the wallet account that they currently have connected. So currently, Celatone supports mainly Osmosis and Neutron, and we'll be adding support for other chains going forward more and more. Now, just for a quick demo of how this actually comes together and what the user role and user experience looks like. Yeah, so when you go to Celatone, this is what you'll be greeted with. So for today, we'll be using the Osmosis instance for it. And let's say if you want to store a code on chain, right? You can just click on deploy a new contract, which will show you an interface where you can directly just upload your Wasm code, add like a custom local code chain if you want, design on the instantiate permission, whether you want everybody to be able to instantiate the code, to be able to instantiate through governance solely, or only allow us what is the set of addresses to instantiate it. So for this one, we'll just be going with everybody. And with this, you can just sign the transaction with your Kepler wallet, and the front end will handle sending the messages on chain. And let's say, and once you wait for the transaction to confirm, you will see information just as the code ID that has been uploaded, the transaction hash of this store code message, as well as the TXT. And from here, you can directly proceed to instantiate the contract, right? And here the interface already built in the code that you just uploaded, and you just need to enter in, let's say, the label and the instantiate message. And again, you can just sign this transaction with your Kepler wallet. And yeah, now you can see, again, the transaction hash, but also things like your contract address, and also to be able to fill in more local information, such as if you want to name the contracts, provide a description, providing any tags or label and stuff like that. And if you then navigate into the contract address page, you'll see what I mean, right? That you see like a really comprehensive overview of all the information about contract, the queries and messages that are available that you can query the contract with or send transaction to it, as well as all the transactions that went to this contract specifically. And if we switch to mainnet, you'll be able to see the public project section at the bottom left. And if you just click on this, it will show you all the contracts and addresses and codes for all the protocols that are loaded on, in this case, also OwesomWasm mainnet. And if you click into this, then you'll see all the lists that are available for each of the projects. Yeah, so that's basically what we call Celatone experience that we have right now. But where do we go from here, right? And what features we will be developing further? So the main one that I want to focus on today is JSON schema parsing. So currently, when you query a contract to Celatone or to other methods, right? You do so primarily by writing the query in JSON format. And while, let's say, our query shortcuts and error messages provide some context and hints on, what fields they are, what the message type is, and all that, they still can't provide helpful information such as the descriptions of what the query does, the types and description of all the parameters that goes into it, as well as details on what the response mean and all the fields that are in the response struct itself. And more importantly, it has no awareness of and show no warnings for optional value that parameter that might be in a given query message or just any typical exclude message. And however, all these information can be encoded into a JSON format that applications and other tools can use to parse and show this information. And all these can be generated directly using the classes, the structs defined by the contract source code, along with the code comments. For storage like Celatone, we can parse this schema and provide user with a more friendly, comprehensive, and helpful interface for interacting with contracts. So instead of building the query messages using JSON yourself, Celatone will provide a full auto-generated input fields for each and all of the messages and parameter along with this description and types. This removes any needs and for trial and error and for users or developers having to go and find the source code to figure out what fields there are in each of the messages, and just overall increasing the developer efficiency and user efficiency overall. So we'll be rolling out this feature soon in 2 main stages. In the first MVP version, we will allow anyone to upload and store their schema code locally and tie that to a specific code ID and code hash. This means that even if you upload the same contract code multiple times using multiple code ID, or instantiate the same code multiple times into multiple smart contracts, you only need to upload the schema once, and Celatone will provide a query and SQL messages interface for all of them. In the second stage, we'll be working with the scan rows and range team to provide the contract data in the registry. The aim for this is to compile and provide the schema, compiler, and other source code information for all the codes and contracts in our growing registry. Finally, while Celatone currently provides full coverage for test and mainnet, many smart contract developers run, deploy, and test their applications on local chain instances as part of their development process. And for us to be able to facilitate and access them in this manner, we'll soon be releasing a way for developers to run an instance of Celatone themselves, both the front end and our indexer, connected to any networks that want be, let's say a mainnet, the public testnet, or even the networks that they might be running locally or running as part of a team. Yeah, and that's all I have today. Thank you for listening.